Okay, good morning, everyone. In the last class, we had just started the chapter alcohols, phenols, and ether. And we discussed about the nomenclature of alcohols and phenols, isn't it? This is clear, children, about the nomenclature or the naming of alcohols and phenols? Yes or no? Okay, I will just write one compound here. You can name it. Okay, only write, just write the IUPAC name. Yes. CH3, CHCl, CHCH3, CH2, OH. All of you switch on your videos. Have you completed? Yes. Gayatri, can you tell me the UPSC name? Yes.
3-chloro,
Yeah.
2-methyl,
3-chloro.
2-methyl,
Yeah. Then
but 1-ol.
butane, 1-ol. Okay, we will only remove E from butane. Okay. Instead of E, we will write ol. 3-chloro, 2-methyl, butane, 1-ol. We just started numbering from here. Okay. All of you, please switch on your videos. Then we are moving to the nomenclature of ethers. Okay. Nomenclature of ethers. In the case of ethers also, there are two names, one common name and IUPAC name. So the common names of ethers are derived from the names of alkyl or aryl groups written separate words in alphabetical order. That means if there are same groups, we will use dialkyl or diaryl group, or different groups are there, we will write the group with smaller alphabetical. That means we will write it in the alphabetical order. Okay. We can do certain examples, then it will be more clear. Okay, so the first point, common names of ethers are derived from the names of alkyl or aryl groups, written separate words in alphabetical order and adding the word ether to it. Then if both alkyl groups are the same, we will use the prefix di or tri. If two alkyl groups, then di. If only two alkyl groups will be present in the case of this ethers, there will be one oxygen and two alkyl groups on the both sides of this oxygen. This is the structure of ether. Here one R group. Here sometimes R or R dash. R dash means another group. If same groups are present on the both sides of oxygen, we will use the term di. Okay, that means dialkyl ether. Or different groups are there. If methyl and ethyl groups are there, we will write ethyl methyl ether, like that. That's the method of writing common name. Common names of ethers are derived from the names of alkyl or aryl groups, written separate words in alphabetical order and adding the word ether at the end. If both alkyl groups are the same, prefix di is added before the group. That's the method of writing the names, common name of ethers. Okay, we can just do one example to write the common name.
Can you write the what you wrote at the bottom again?
Achyut, once again?
Ma'am, can you write that point again at the bottom?
Yeah, sure. R, O, R or R dash. The same alkyl groups are there, R, O, R. If different alkyl groups, R, O, R dash. R dash indicates another group, that's it. Okay, C2H5O CH3. Can you please write the common name of this compound? Common name. Here, first one is ethyl group and the next one is methyl group or methyl. So there are two groups. You should follow its alphabetical order. Which one comes first? Methyl or ethyl?
E.
Yeah. So you can write ethyl, methyl, ether. That's the name. Ethyl, methyl, ether. All of you, please switch on your videos. C2H5O CH3. Its common name is ethyl, methyl, ether. Okay, then we can do one more example. CH3O CH3. What about its name? CH3O CH3. Both the alkyl groups are same. So, yes, dimethyl ether. Dimethyl ether. That's about the common name. Dimethyl ether. This is clear, children, about writing the common names of ethers. Shall I move to next one? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then we are moving to IUPAC name. Okay, in the case of IUPAC name, first we have to find out the bigger alkyl group. If there are two alkyl groups present, select the bigger alkyl group and it is considered as the parent carbon, parent chain. If there are two alkyl groups present, one is considered as the parent chain, that is the bigger alkyl group. And the smaller alkyl group we will write first, and along with its name we will add oxy. Alkoxy, alkoxy plus alkane. Okay, so the name of the smaller alkyl we will write first and we will add oxy, alkoxy. Okay, then we will select the biggest alkyl group as the main chain or parent chain. That's the method of writing IUPAC name. Alkoxy alkane. And there is one example given here, CH3, CH2O, CH2, CH2, CH3. So here one ethyl group, here one propyl group, right? And among these two groups, which one is considered as the parent chain? Yes, ethyl or propyl, which is the bigger alkyl group? Yes, tell me, which is the bigger alkyl group? Not in the alphabetical order, which has the most number of carbon atoms. Dia? Yeah, propyl group. So it is selected as the parent chain. So we will write propane. Okay. Then you have to write the position. That is 1. It's not important to write the position in the case of this ethers. If two groups are only present there. Okay. If substituents are there, you need to represent the position. Otherwise, no need to represent the position. So 1. Then here one ethyl group. It is added with oxy, the word oxy. So 1 ethoxy propane. 1 ethoxy propane. That's the method of writing IUPAC name. We can do 2 more examples. 1 ethoxy propane. Have we completed this slide, children?
Yes, ma'am.
All of you? Okay, then we can do one example. Write down the IUPAC name and common name of this compound. Both IUPAC name and common name. This one also.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
in IUPAC, what will we do if both are same?
you can write the same terms before and after oxy. Okay. The alkyl group and the parent chain both is considered with same names. Have you completed? Emmanuel, can you tell me the IUPAC name of the first compound?
Diethoxyethane. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ
IUPAC name. We will write the
ethoxyethane.
very good. Ethoxyethane. Yeah. Then what about the common name? Rijas, can you tell me the common name of the first compound? Diethyl ether, right? Diethyl ether. Okay. And what about the IUPAC name of the second one, Sania?
Methoxybutane.
Which one?
Methoxybutane.
Is it ethoxy or methoxy? Yeah. Methoxybutane. Evelyn, what about its common name?
Butyl methyl ether.
Very good. Butyl methyl ether. Here it follows alphabetical order. That's why we will write butyl first. That is followed by methyl group. This is clear about IUPAC naming? Yes, children? Any doubt? Anyone? Any doubt? Nothing, right? Okay, then all of you take your textbook along with the portions, okay? You can just mark the remaining portion in the textbook itself because the same thing we are discussing. So in order to complete the portions, you know that there is one more chapter there, P block elements. It's a very big chapter. So you need to just mark here in the textbook itself. If any more information or any more points shared, you can just note down the points that's needed, okay? So you can mark it in the textbook itself. Yeah, Chud, it's okay. So next we are moving to the structure of this alcohol, phenol and ether groups. Okay, structure of alcohol, phenol and ether groups. The same image in your textbook, page number 328, figure 11.1. Okay, so now we are discussing about the structure of alcohols, phenols and ethers. And the first one is given here, it is methanol. Okay, methanol, that is CH3OH. CH3OH. These three hydrogens, they are distributed or they are bonded towards the carbon, and there is one oxygen here and it is bonded to hydrogen. That's the bond in between methanol. Okay, this CH3OH. And here you can see the bond angle is 108.9 degree, right? 108.9 degree. And the bond length between carbon and oxygen, it is 142 picometer. 142 picometer. And the bond length between oxygen and hydrogen, it is 96 picometer. 96 picometer. Okay. So here only single bonds are there in the case of methanol, right? Only single bonds are there. So sp3 hybridized atoms. sp3. You always remember, if single bond is there, that will be considered as sp3 hybridized carbon. Then if double bond is present or the atom is attached to a double bond, it is considered as sp2 hybridized carbon. Then if triple bond is present, that is considered as sp hybridized. Clear? If it is single bond, it is sp3, double bond sp2 and triple bond, it is sp. So in the case of this methanol, both this carbon and oxygen, they are sp3 hybridized carbon. Okay, both this carbon and oxygen, they are sp3 hybridized carbon. And only sigma bond is formed. Sigma bond that shows the single bond. And in the case of double bond or triple bond, pi bond is there. Okay. So in the case of methanol, both the carbon and oxygen, they are sp3 hybridized carbon, and sigma bond is formed between carbon and oxygen. This is clear? Because the overlapping between sp3 hybridized carbon and oxygen will take place. And only single bond is formed between carbon and oxygen. That is why it is sigma bond. This is the representation of sigma. Okay, children? That's about methanol. And when you compare the bond angle of this methanol, here you can see it is 108.9 degree. 108.9 degree. It is slightly less than the tetrahedral angle. Always the tetrahedral angle, it has always fixed as 109.28. This is the value of tetrahedral angle. And you look at the angle given here between the carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. It is 108.9 degree, right? Slightly less than the tetrahedral angle. And this lesser amount compared to the tetrahedral angle, it is due to the repulsion between the electrons present in oxygen. Here you can see 4 electrons, right? 4 dots, isn't it? You can see here 4 dots that will represent 4 electrons. They are not involved in any bonding. That is considered as lone pair of electrons. Okay, non-bonded electrons. The 4 electron pairs you can see here in the oxygen, they are not involved in bonding. So they are known as non-bonded pair of electrons or lone pair of electrons. Clear? They are lone pair of electrons. Due to the repulsion between the lone pair of electrons present in oxygen atom, here the angle is reduced to 108.9 degree instead of the tetrahedral angle. So in the case of carbon and oxygen, both are sp3 hybridized atoms. So there will be sigma bond formed between carbon and oxygen. And in the case of their angle, here it is 108.9 degree. It is slightly less than the tetrahedral angle. And the reason is that the lone pair electron repulsion. Okay, lone pair electron repulsion in oxygen atom. In oxygen atom. That's about methanol. This is clear, children? All of you? Only 2 points here. Carbon and oxygen, they are sp3 hybridized. Then there will be sigma bond formed between carbon and oxygen. Okay. Then in the case of angle, here it is 108.9 degree. That means slightly less than tetrahedral angle. The reason for the slight difference, it is due to the lone pair electron repulsion in oxygen. Clear? This is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Then about phenol. Next one about phenol. Then you look at the bond length between the carbon and oxygen in both cases. Here it is 142 picometer and here it is 136 picometer, right? The carbon oxygen bond length, that is 136 picometer in phenol and 142 picometer in methanol. That means the bond length is decreases in phenol when comparing with methanol. And there are major 2 reasons for the decrease in the bond length between methanol and phenol. One is that it is here you look at the bond between carbon and oxygen. It is attached to sp2 hybridized carbon because double bond is present in phenol. It is attached to sp2 hybridized carbon. Okay, sp2 hybridized state of carbon. And the next thing is partial double bond character acquired. 2 reasons for the decrease in the bond length in the case of phenol comparing with methanol. First one is sp2 hybridized carbon. Here the oxygen atom is attached to carbon with double bond, right? So it is sp2 hybridized carbon. And the second thing is partial double bond character that will be acquired by oxygen. Because there will be resonance take place, the electrons will be moved from one position to another. Then the oxygen also acquire one partial double bond character. Okay, because it is attached to one aromatic ring, right? So two reasons, sp2 hybridized carbon and the partial double bond character acquired by oxygen. Due to these two reasons, phenol has smaller bond length compared to methanol. This is clear? This is clear, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then the third one in the case of methoxymethane or in the case of ether. Here also you can see in oxygen there are 4 electron pairs, right? 4 electron pairs. And here the bond angle is slightly lesser. Sorry, here the bond angle is larger than compared to other, right? Slightly greater than the tetrahedral angle. I told you the value of tetrahedral angle. It is 109.28 degree, right? But here when you look at the tetrahedral angle in the ether, it is 111.7 degree. 111.7 degree. And here it is due to the repulsion between the bulkier groups. There are 2 methyl groups here, right? So the presence of 2 bulky methyl groups. Here the tetrahedral angle, it is greater than tetrahedral angle. The bond angle between carbon, oxygen and another carbon, it will be greater than tetrahedral angle due to the presence of bulkier groups. Clear? That's about the structure of the 3 functional groups, alcohols, phenols and ethers. Alcohols, phenols and ethers. In the first case, I will repeat it once again. In the case of methanol, you have to concentrate only on 2 points. Both the carbon and oxygen, they are sp3 hybridized carbon because only single bond there. So sigma bond is formed between carbon and oxygen. Okay, and when you look at the bond angle between the carbon, oxygen and hydrogen, it is 108.9 degree. That means it is slightly less than the tetrahedral angle. The value of tetrahedral angle, it is 109.28 degree. And the reason is that there is electrons present in the oxygen atom. There will be electron repulsion between these electrons. Okay, then in the case of phenol, when you look at the bond length, it is slightly lesser than the methanol, right? The reason is that first one is due to sp2 hybridized carbon. This oxygen is attached to sp2 hybridized carbon because double bond is there in aromatic ring. And the second thing is that oxygen will acquire a partial double bond character because it is attached to aromatic ring. There is a chance for resonance structures. So when this electrons is moving from one to another, there will be chance for oxygen to get a partial double bond character. That's the reason. And in the case of third one, methoxymethane, here the tetrahedral angle is greater than the angle between the carbon, oxygen and carbon, it is greater than tetrahedral angle. The reason is that repulsion between the bulkier groups. 2 bulkier groups are surrounded with oxygen. So due to the presence of this bulkier groups, here the angle is greater than tetrahedral angle. This is clear, children? About the structure of functional groups. Everyone? Any doubt?
Now can I say about ethers again?
Which one?
Ethers.
Yeah, in the case of ether, here the bond angle is 111.7 degree, right? 111.7 degree. And the actual tetrahedral angle is 109.28 degree, right? So it will be greater than the tetrahedral angle. And the reason is that 2 bulkier groups are surrounded with oxygen. CH3 group, another CH3 group. In the 2 sides of oxygen, 2 CH3 groups. So due to the presence of this bulkier groups, there will be a repulsion between this oxygen. There will be a repulsion due to the presence of this bulkier group. And here the bond angle is greater than tetrahedral angle. That's the reason. Clear? Vidur?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, any more doubt?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yeah.
Am
Yes.
I audible?
Yeah. Tell me.
Ma'am, in methanol, when there is repulsion, why does the bond angle
It is
reduce?
due to
It must increase, right?
Yeah, there due to electron repulsion, right? Here due to the presence of bulkier groups. Okay, due to the bulkier groups, the bond angle will be widened. Clear? But here the electron repulsion there, that's why the bond angle is shortened. If two bulkier groups are present, the bond angle is widened. That's why here the bond angle is greater than tetrahedral angle. Here it's due to the repulsion between the electrons. Clear, Achyut?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So shall I move to the methods of preparation? Preparation of alcohols. Okay. Preparation of alcohols. And there are mainly one more method. First one from alkene, second one from carbonyl compounds, and the third one from Grignard reagents. Three methods are there. Three sources are there. Okay. First one from alkenes, second one from carbonyl compounds, third one from Grignard reagents. Okay. So we are moving to the first one, that is the preparation of alcohol from alkenes. Preparation of alcohols from alkenes. And there are two methods for preparing alcohol from alkenes. And the first one is acid catalyzed hydration. Acid catalyzed hydration. So here acid will act as a catalyst. Okay, and hydration. Hydration means addition of water to the molecule, right? So acid catalyzed hydration will take place for the preparation of alcohol from alkenes. So first one you can see here, a symmetrical alkene. What is the meaning of symmetrical alkene? The two groups that are surrounded with the double bond, they remain same. Okay, that is symmetrical alkene. Here you can see two carbon with a double bond and the same groups are attached to both the carbon. That is not a symmetrical alkene. And here water molecule is added, that is H2O. And H plus denotes the presence of acid, and here acid acts as a catalyst. And when one molecule is added to an alkene, automatically the double bond will be break and these two ions will be added to each carbon atom. Okay, when a molecule, here it is water molecule is added to alkene, the double bond breaks between the two carbon atoms and the each ions will be added to each carbon atom. In the product, you can see here one hydrogen is added to the first carbon atom and OH group is added to second carbon atom. Okay, that's the formation of product in the case of acid catalyzed hydration. In the case of symmetrical alkene, you can add any ions to any carbon, no issues there. But in the case of unsymmetrical alkenes, you have to follow one rule. Do you remember the name? The rule that we are using? Very good. Marconi-Cobb's rule. Do you remember it? Marconi-Cobb's rule. Okay. According to Marconi-Cobb's rule, the negative part of the incoming ion that will be attached to the carbon with lesser number of hydrogen atoms. Okay. According to Marconi-Cobb's rule, the negative part of the attacking molecule that will be added to the carbon with lesser number of hydrogen atoms. So in the case of H2O, we can divide it into H plus and OH minus, right? H plus ions and OH minus ion. So this OH minus ion, that is the negative part. Then look at the second example. Here you can see one unsymmetrical alkene. CH3, CH double bond CH2, right? CH3, CH double bond CH2. Here, which carbon is with lesser number of hydrogen atom? In the right side or left side? Which carbon atom?
Right side less.
Which one? Right side or left side? This one or this one? One or two? You can tell me. Only look at the carbon atom to which the bond, double bond is there. Okay. No need to consider this one. Only need to consider the carbon atoms with the double bond. So in the case of first carbon atom, that means I will number as 1 is considered as the carbon atom with lesser number of hydrogen, right? So this OH group that will be attached to this carbon. In the product you can see here CH3, CHOH, CH3, and the H plus is added to the carbon atom in the right side. Clear, children? In the case of unsymmetrical alkenes, we will choose this Marconi-Kobes rule to select the product. And the negative part of the molecule that will be added to the carbon with lesser number of hydrogen atoms. And here in this example, it is CH3, CH double bond CH2 plus H2O, right? And this CH3, CH, the CH has lesser number of hydrogen atom. So OH will be attached to CH. And the hydrogen is added to CH2. And the bond breaks between CH and CH2. It will be CH3, CHOH, CH3. Is this clear? So in this acid catalyzed hydration, alkenes react with water in the presence of acids to form alcohols. And in the case of unsymmetrical alkenes, we need to follow Marconi-Kobes rule. Okay. And in the case of this reaction, its mechanism is also very important. It's specially mentioned in the syllabus itself. Okay. The mechanism of acid catalyzed hydration. So here the reagent or the reactant is alkene. The water molecule is there, presence of acid as catalyst, and the product is alcohol. Then we are moving to the mechanism of this acid catalyzed hydration. This is clear, children. Shall I move to next one? Mechanism.
Yes.
Okay. So mechanism of acid catalyzed reaction. It follows 3 steps. Mainly 3 steps. 3 steps are there for acid catalyzed hydration. Okay. So the step 1, it is protonation of alkene to form carbocation by electrophilic attack of H3O+. So in the first step, a carbocation is formed. Before we are moving to the reaction between alkene and this electrophile, first we have to convert this water molecule to H3O+. You know that presence of acid is there. So H2O, water molecule, reacts with this H plus ion. H plus ion, that's from acid. Acids can always able to donate H plus ions, right? So this water molecule reacts with H plus ion to form H3O plus. H2O plus H plus gives H3O plus. And this one acts as a electrophile here. Okay, H3O plus, it will act as a electrophile. Now we are moving to the step 1. The protonation of alkene to form carbocation by electrophilic attack of H3O+. So this alkene will be converted to one carbocation. Do you remember the carbocation? The carbon with a positive charge. Okay, there will be a carbon with a positive charge that we had discussed in SN2 mechanism, right? SN2 mechanism, the first step is formation of carbocation, right? Here also the protonation of alkene. What's the meaning of protonation of alkene? We are adding protons to alkene. That's it. Protonation of alkene to form carbocation by electrophilic attack of H3O+. So here one alkene, it is reacted with H3O+. The same H3O+, it is arranged in this way. 3 hydrogens are there, 1 oxygen with plus charge. And here we are taking this hydrogen towards the alkene. That is protonation of alkene. Proton means only in the case of hydrogen, only 1 proton there. So hydrogen is considered as 1 proton. Okay, so we are taking 1 hydrogen towards this alkene. That is the protonation of alkene to form carbocation. Okay. So this hydrogen, it is towards this carbon. We are taking this hydrogen towards this. Here you can see a double bond, right? Between one carbon and other one. One hydrogen is added to one carbon. There will be a shortage of one valency towards the other carbon. That's why we will write a plus charge on other carbon. Clear, children? We are taking this hydrogen towards the first carbon. And automatically the bond will be breaks between the carbon and carbon. Isn't it? So here the valency is satisfied. Already two bonds are there. Then one bond with this hydrogen and another bond between carbon and carbon. But in the case of the second carbon, only 3 bonds are there. Only 3 bonds are there. That means one bond is in short. So we will write one plus charge. We will write one plus charge. That's the carbocation formed here. So from this H3O plus, one hydrogen is removed. Then the remaining portion is H2O. H2O. And the unbonded pairs, that means the lone pairs also represented. It's clear about the first step. Protonation of alkene to form carbocation by electrophilic attack of H3O plus. Any doubt, children? First step. Here the proton is added to alkene. So the hydrogen is added to one carbon. The other carbon will get positive charge because it will have a shortage of one more valency or one more bond. That's why we will write one plus charge. Clear? Then we can discuss the remaining steps in the next class. Okay? Okay, children? Just respond. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. I will repeat the first step again in the next class. Okay? Okay, then thank you all. Bye. See you in the next class.
Thank you.
Thank you.